All right, quick review of the 3D camera tracker. I have a clip here of my living room where I just took a little bit of a tour with my cell phone on the bookcase and then sort of a full reveal at the end here. One important thing to understand is that the comp needs to be the same dimensions as your footage, and the best way to do that is just use your footage. In this case it's the QuickTime file in the project window, and then you drag it and drop it on the comp button. That creates a comp like this that is the same dimensions as the file, the same time length of the file, the same pixel aspect ratio, and all that stuff is critical. So that's your best step in order to get a correct track. Because if you don't have a comp that is the same dimensions as your footage, then it won't track. It'll give you errors, and it'll probably drive you crazy until you figure out what that problem is. So now that I have this comp set up, I'm going to choose my my clip. I'm going to go to animation. This is not an effect. This is actually part of the animation assistance here. And we can see that here are all the tracking things. And here's track camera. Boom. And it's going to go through and start processing this clip. And it'll take a little while depending on what kind of computer you're using. And fortunately, in this case, I have a clip that's already been tracked. And once this track is completed as far as the processing goes, you should see that it also resolves a camera, but it doesn't put a camera in there yet. But all of the little rainbow stars, all these little X's, are tracking points, and those are what we want to see. And as I get closer to things, the X's get closer, right? And then as you get further away, they get smaller and smaller based on your shot. So things to keep in mind is the shot should be well lit, there should be enough contrast, there should be not too much erratic movement. Steady shots are always better for tracking. And if you have a shot that doesn't move right away, you might find some errors. So you need to have a shot that actually starts with movement. So you might need to trim your footage a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just talk first about like how to select the right points. So as I move through this footage, and you have to bear with me here, I'm using a MacBook Air, so it's a little sluggish, but I want to put something in these books here. And as you see, as I move my mouse around, we're finding relationships between the triangulations of these points that it's been tracking. And my hope is to find at some point a good plane that represents the plane of the surface, or at least the shot that I'm working with. And like, you know, I like a target that looks like this. But you might need to, you know, move in maybe a little closer before you actually find that plane. And you really do need to sort of search for the right one. I still really like this one right here. Even though it looks like it might be sloped a little bit, you can see that there are different associations between those 3 points, where maybe you have something that's facing sideways instead of forwards, etc. If you go too far in when you're looking at these big X's, it gets a little harder to find the right thing. It is important for you to know that it doesn't matter if you aren't super close up to that spot. So you might think that, well, I want to put a piece of text or a green screen element or something like that right in those books, and your first instinct might be like, I need to get right in there and try to find it. But it's going to be harder for you to find those triangulated points as opposed to something that's a little further away. So I might try to look somewhere around here. Let's see here if I can find it. Where's my jam? I might back up a little bit still. That's my jam right there. Boom, that's my jam. So as soon as you find a target that looks like it understands the plane, actually, I don't know, maybe I won't do that one. I'm going to do this one. You click on it. So you find a target. It should be a large target. It should be sort of in the perspective of what that plane is. Once you click on it, then you're going to either right click or control click on it, and it'll give you your options to drop in what it is that you want. Just right off the bat, I'll choose create text and camera, and what that's going to do, it's going to put a camera into the shot as well as text. Now the thing is with the initial location of this, is it might not be spot on, but as long as you understand those features of control, like I choose the rotate tool, I know that I can come in and I can rotate my text a little bit so that it fits more appropriately in that space. And it also feels like it's leaning forward just a touch, so I might back off on my X to sort of tilt it up. So once you get that right, then you can go ahead and you can change your text. In this case, we are doing text, so I'm going to say books. And I might lower my size. Boop. And just to find out if we are locked in and it feels right, I'm just going to back up a little bit and watch a few frames of this. And it definitely feels like I have found that right spot. If it's floating a little bit or drifting weirdly, then your triangles were associating themselves with something maybe too close to the camera or further away. So you might want to play with that a little bit. But this looks pretty solid. So that is totally attached, and it's wonderful. But you might need to say, well, I want it to come out further, or I want it to be tucked in, or I need to move it more to the left or something. And that is all great, as long as you understand what that association with space is now. And books, the text layer is not moving, it's the camera that's moving. I'll start at the beginning here, and we'll just kind of cruise through. It's going to take a little too long. But like already I can tell that it's got a good lock, and it is because that those the mathematics that went into following all of the little points of contrast understand things pretty well in this shot, because there's a lot of color, there's a lot of line, there's a lot of contrast. So you're going to end up having a pretty good track that can lock in here. So we move in. Books is sort of pretty much tucked in right underneath that shelf. If I pulled it out further, closer to the camera, then you could see that it would be moving in a different sort of parallax motion to the rest of the background, which might be something you're looking for. And it's flat, it's white, it's like pure white. So I'd want to start thinking about lights and ways to try to make it blend into that environment more, which is a totally different recap. But yeah, I love it. It looks really cool. Books. We have so many books. You should have a lot of books. Books make your life more rich, right? So if I just bring that back to the beginning, boop. Oh yeah, that's really solid. Cool. Oh yeah, man, it looks so good. I love it. So yeah, obviously then now if I wanted to work with lights and some shadows and things, I would start considering placing this text into the right environment that way. But if we move further on here and look at something else and try to track another element, let's say we want to add another thing like by the guitars, I'm going to click back on my video track or layer. I'm going to go to my effects controls window and select 3D camera tracker, and that's when my X's come back up. So like you can't do anything until you see your X's, right? So these X's are really critical. And I need something that's almost face forward here, and this one, where'd you go? This one looks like the money. So now I selected another point, and I'm going to control click or right click on it, and I'll do another like create text. There it is. This is the new one. I'll say music. And I'm just going to take a look at what After Effects is telling me about its arrangement, which it's actually a little sloped back too much. So I'm going to grab my rotate tool again. And I'm just going to take it and rotate it according to what I understand this perspective to be. And it's going to be something like this, and I might need to go like a little bit that way, just a smidge. Boop. Oh, there we go. And then I can get my move tool back and play with its location to life. Maybe I lower my text size down again and put this like right between the two guitars so it's centered. Now I just want to watch and see what happens to this track and see if it feels like it's locked in. So I'm looking at its position according to the rest of the elements in the footage, and I'm thinking about what that means to its relative position in that space. And there are a few things I don't really like about it aesthetically, which is here we go. Oop. It's a little too big still, and I'll just change that here. And I think, oh no, not that small. Something like that. I think it needs to come down lower. So you're going to live here, and this is sliding down the wall, which is so cool. So we come around the corner. And it feels like it's pretty well glued into that shot. Yeah, it's great. So if you consider the fact that this shot is moving at a relative speed where you get some camera blur, like right here you can see those guitars aren't in focus, then you should think about things like blur. So motion blur, I'm going to enable for that layer. I'm also going to enable for the comp, which it's set on. And that'll start to make it feel a little more married. In this case, it's not really enough blur. So I do need to go to my composition settings and look at advanced tab and start talking about what my shutter angle is. It's not changing much. Well, doesn't that suck? Why aren't you changing your blur? It's just not feeling the movement that the camera's doing is enough to actually execute the blur properly. Well, that's not helpful at all. But this is what you would do. You'd come in and say, let's work with our motion blur and try to adapt it so that it ends up registering more to our shot. So what if you want to put something in other than text? Then that means that we need to work with my solution is a null object. I will at this point turn books off, and let's just say that we want to find another good spot, which I will go to my effects controls, select my tracker, and say that I want to put something like on the shelf, not an elf. So I'm going to get this little guy, and I'm going to say, hey, let's put a null here. So now there's a null, which is an invisible layer, but it has all the attributes of something that is 3D. It has position, scale, rotation, etc. And then I have, in this project here, we have an owl that has been keyed out. It was an owl on green screen, looked like this. And I'll bring that in. And right off the bat, it's just in the middle because it's a 2D object. As soon as I turn it to 3D, it's going to disappear. That is because it doesn't have the position property that we want in association to our camera move. So the track null, I will hit P for position, select position, copy that, go to my owl, hit position, and then paste. No, let's paste. Boop. And now my owl is in that spot. Like it is located there, but it's not oriented properly. So now I need to take the tools that I do know about, right? Understanding what 3D is and do things like, pivot it around the right way, work with my Z orientation so that it's, oh man, I'm using a trackpad and that just is not smart. Maybe position a little bit more that way orientation wise, and I think that we're good. Now it's all about its position and perhaps scale. So I'll scale it down just a little bit so it can actually sit on top of one of these books, and I'm going to move it down the bookshelf a little ways and maybe up a little bit. But what I should see is that it should be married to that spot, and it should be moving around in relation to what those elements actually are. So I'm just going to let myself get a little closer to it. This owl is an animated owl. It's not a real owl. It's pretty funny though. It has googly eyes and they're moving around. So as soon as I get into an area where I'm interested in this owl being, then I will focus on its actual position, and I will stop here and we'll say we're going to go up a little bit and we're going to move over a little bit, and I'm going to have this thing perched sort of on the top of that book, something like that. And then I'll look at it again. I'm going to back up and I'm going to say, do you feel like you're perched? I'm looking for floating, and I can see that it looks like it's drifting a little bit to the right. So that means that it's closer to the camera and perhaps not as low as it needs to be. Whoa. So then I will lower it, but also move it back. So I'm going to position it back a little bit and then try to reposition it on this coordinate so that it feels like it's back on that spine of the book. And I'll watch it some more. So the float and the drift is something that you need to think about. It's like things that move faster are closer to you and things that move slower are further away. So I have to pull it back a little bit because it wasn't drifting as much this time. So that's just spatial relationship stuff you have to think about. Let's see where we're at. And I'm pretty locked in. It looks like it's a little slow still, so it might be too far away. So that would just mean moving it closer to the camera. But you need to just kind of go over these things again and again and again until you feel like you're getting a good lock. Sometimes you get lucky and it just locks in perfectly and you say, cool, I don't have to do too much more. But generally there is a bit of tweaking that needs to happen. See, that feels pretty good. That's pretty funny. So that's general 3D tracking. Always remember that you need to select your camera, or sorry, your video layer, and then your effect controls effect, and that's when you see your target X's, and it is moving around trying to find something that looks like it's locked into that plane, in that perspective, that's going to do all the magic for you. Like that's a good one right there. I like that one. I would never choose this one or that one or that one because they're just not facing forward like the front of the bookshelf would be. All right, I hope that helps. Thanks.